Hey everyone, welcome back. So what do we got today? We got, geez, Wednesday already, end of the month. So what do we have today? Well, we had some economic news that made Bitcoin and miners go down, markets go down at first as well, and then Bitcoin kind of came back up in the day. So we have that to talk about and everything else that we have on the agenda for today. Obviously, we're going to talk about exchanges having a low BTC and why isn't the price going up. There was a good post from Swan on X, so we're going to take a look at that one. Kind of goes over into the reasoning why we might not be seeing this right now at least. We have more companies buying BTC. We also have Digital news that they have a new 500 million ATM. And then obviously the economic data as well. We'll just kind of go over that really quick here. So we'll get into it all as well. And as always, you guys know the drill here, right? Not financial advice, for entertainment only. Do your own research. Full disclosure below that. Hit the like button, subscribe. Helps me out tremendously, and it doesn't cost you a penny. But let's take a look at what happened here today with Bitcoin and everything else. Let me see. I want to go here. So Bitcoin today. Let me see here. Bitcoin, I'm looking at the daily here, BTC USD. Okay, so it actually did finish out in the red a little bit here. It looked like it was in the green here when I was looking at it, but it's green on the new day. Nonetheless, we were down just a little bit. We were down 0.09%. We did bounce back from where we were, more or less. We got to a low of 92,111, a high of 95,263. So we had a swing of approximately, what was that, $2,600 or so, $3,600 more or less, a swing in that. Something like that. And then today we're up a little bit here, 0.47%. So not all too bad. The miners were down on the day for the most part, except for Bitfarms. Bitfarms was the only one that was up just a little bit here, 0.13%. BitTier was down 2.84. Cypher was down 7.47. Cleanspark down 3.2. CORZ was down 2.29. Hive was down 1.74. Hut 8 was down 5.67. IREN was down 2.55. Mawson was down 5.98. Riot down 2.43, and Wolf was down 4.79. We do have a company reporting their financial results tomorrow, and that is going to be, who's that going to be? That is going to be Riot. Riot's reporting tomorrow, so that's happening in about 17 hours. We got then Cypher also released their report date. They're going to be reporting on May 6th, and we got CORZ the 7th, Hut 8 and Mawson on the 8th. We'll see when we get everybody else in there as well on it, and we'll obviously talk about it at that point, but we'll keep you guys updated on it. Going back here to the screen on things, how things played out. MicroStrategy was also down today. Galaxy was up a little bit. What else? Semler was down 4.83. GameStop was up a little bit, 2.2. Small miners were down for the most part, except for Digihost and Mawson being up a little bit here. ETFs were down as well today. So not a good start to the week, at least for the miners and for some of these ETFs as well. We've seen a couple of days of outflows. The stock's going down on these guys, but they had a nice week last week, so maybe it's still part of that profit-taking process. I don't know. We'll see. All right, let's get into some of the other things we have to talk about here, and we'll call it a day here. Bitcoin returns really quick. Bitcoin finished out the month of April being up 14% roughly, so that was good. We did get a green month in April. That was nice. We'll see where May ends up at. May is supposed to be the start of the nice pump that we're supposed to see based on the M2 supply. We'll see if that pans out, if it happens. We're up just a little bit right now, 0.24% on May as it is. That's based on Bitcoin hours. So, yeah, I mean, we'll see where May takes us. Right now, it's a 50-50 split between being green and red on Bitcoin in the month of May, historically over the past number of years. So we'll see where that takes us. Next is the Bitcoin ETF inflows here from the ETF providers. And we had, well, yesterday we had a nice inflow from BlackRock. And BlackRock has been on a buying spree here, going back, I mean, quite a ways, back to April 14th. It's been all positive for BlackRock, even though we've had one red day here on April 16th. Everything else has been pretty much a green day here. We'll see what happened today with BlackRock, if they bought more or not. But that's good news there. And we do have some, obviously, economic data that came out today. This is from Walter Bloomberg. Recession risk surges as GDP contracts. Kalishi now shows a 70% chance of U.S. recession this year, spiking after this morning's surprise GDP print. So Q1 GDP came in at negative 0.3 versus the expected was 0.3%. Core PCE came plus at 3.5%. Unemployment costs were up just 0.9, so that was in line. And consumer spending was up 1.8% annualized. Markets obviously reacting sharply. Stocks are down and hitting session lows. They did come back a little bit here. They did bounce on it. So you can see that here. Dow Jones was up, and the S&P 500 was also up on the day. And the NASDAQ was down just a little bit here. So that definitely played into it, but it was definitely a wild day here. They were down much lower in the morning hours, and then they bounce back up as well as the miners were much lower, and then they bounce back up. Okay, so it's looking like we might have a recession here this year, or at least a 74% chance on that based on Kalshi. So we'll see. We'll see if this pans out. And a recession would be considered 2 straight quarters of negative GDP growth. All right, so we'll see if that happens, or if the trade deals and everything else, the tariffs can be worked out, and we get deals with all the other countries worked out, and that might actually propel things. But we need something more concrete than what we have right now, with a lot of uncertainty in the markets because of the tariffs. So plus, companies don't know what to do, right? Are the tariffs on? Are the tariffs off? You can't plan on that. It's just, right now, it's a nightmare for businesses across the board. Everybody's affected on it one way or another. All right, next here is some good news. Some more companies buying here. So just in public, company Semler Scientific buys another 165 Bitcoin worth 15.7 million. They've been also on a buying spree here, and they continue to just do the same thing like Sailor does. And strategy there, they continue to buy. We also have another company here. Indian public company Jet King plans to acquire 135 Bitcoin in the next 6 months. Definitely a much smaller hodl there, but still more companies buying. That's a good thing. That's, that should lead to having exchanges have even lower amounts of Bitcoin on their side, and that should propel Bitcoin going forward. So that kind of brings us in nicely to our major topic here is, with exchanges being low on Bitcoin, why isn't the stock pumping, or the price of Bitcoin pumping up higher? Well, Swan actually put out a pretty good post here on X, and they kind of go through some of the reasoning as to why they see things not moving up right now. So we'll read through these through this thread right now. Swan says Bitcoin balances on exchanges just hit a 5-year low. Meanwhile, MicroStrategy just added 15,000 more Bitcoin. Excuse me. ETFs are stacking. Sovereign wealth is circling, or buying actually. So why isn't the price exploding? Here's what most people are missing. So here's a thread on it. All right, you can see Bitcoin exchange balances on this chart here. This was back in 2021, right? As Bitcoin went up on a nice rally here. I mean, you can see that we are way, way lower than we were even back then. And this is pretty much now, end of April possibly. You can see that the exchanges have a heck of a lot less than they did basically 4 years ago. And yet still price went up nicely here. So are we ready to have maybe a nice rally here going forward to possibly much higher prices? I think that might be the case, but we'll see. Continuing on here. Swan, yes, Bitcoin is flying off exchanges. Some of it is going to cold storage, bullish, right? Long-term conviction, I agree. But a large portion is flowing into institutional custody, ETFs, fund administrators, and trading infrastructure. The coins aren't gone, they're just moving upstream. And you can see that on here. Coinbase, 2.7 million BTC roughly, and that's going to either ETFs, ETPs, about 1 million there, exchanges, CEXs, about 1 million. Companies, 232,000 BTC there. Well, it's probably not including MicroStrategy. This is a little outdated here because MicroStrategy now has over 500 some thousand, I think, of Bitcoin. Right. Then you also have other companies. Mara has over 40,000. So this is probably a little dated here. I don't know exactly when this is going back to, but you can kind of see at least where the coins are going to. Companies, custodians, OTCs, miners as well. Right. Miners. You got Cleanspark here with 9,000. So this is going back probably several months here. It looks like. The way things are looking at 9,000 was last time Cleanspark had that was probably, I want to say like December or November of time frame last year. Hut 8 somewhere around there as well. Yeah, so that's going back quite a few months, way back. So maybe about a half a year back, maybe. I'm not sure exactly how many Bitcoin MicroStrategy has bought in the last 6 months, but that does seem low for them at least. But at least it gives you an idea of where things are going. Continuing on here, not all of this Bitcoin is idle. Some is held passively. Some is active, used in structured products, yield platforms, or as collateral. We have seen that with Cleanspark using Bitcoin as collateral for their loans with Coinbase. We are seeing the same thing now with Riot. We're seeing with also with other companies as well doing collateral on Bitcoin. So that's being used as that. So yes, exchange balances are dropping, but that doesn't mean price will rip immediately because Bitcoin is still a market. And in markets, sellers never disappear. They don't. Unfortunately, they don't. Some are traders looking for short-term gains, right? A lot of you guys might be trading Bitcoin here as it is. And then some are long-term holders shaving off profits. That wouldn't be me. There might be some of you guys there as well. And some are speculators who never understood what they bought, which is also the case, right? People have bought in at higher prices And Bitcoin coming down 30% is sometimes a little bit painful for them. They'll sell out of it. I've been holding on to it, gosh, since 2017, 2018. I'm going to continue to hold on to it. The higher the price, the more they appear, right? So the higher the price comes up, the more sellers you're going to have because they're going to be up in the green quite nicely depending when you got into it. If you got into it when Bitcoin was at 3,000, 4,000, or even 15,000 or 20,000, Bitcoin goes up to 150,000 to 200,000, you're going to be like, hey, this is great profits here. I can sell this and make a big buck there. Continuing on here, that's why even massive buys like MicroStrategy, 1.4 billion accumulation doesn't spark instant price spikes because they're not scooping spot all at once. They execute strategically over time against a market that's consistently adjusting, but something new is happening. So what is happening here? Well, miners produce 13,500 Bitcoin per month right now, but MicroStrategy, using cheap debt and relentless capital, has outpaced that production for months. They're not just stacking, they're compressing Bitcoin's supply curve from the outside. And then you can see obviously here, MicroStrategy's acquisitions here. They definitely have been buying. You can see the dots where they've been buying it. They've been buying it all over the place, but they've been buying a lot here, close to 100,000 and right around the 80,000 mark as well. And they're doing a lot more buying here recently than they have done in the past. You can see it here. Okay, so that's always great news. That's getting it off the exchanges. So this kind of synthetic halving, not every 4 years, but every time institutional capital hits buy. As more players follow suit, the effective flow shrinks not by code, but by the balance sheet, which is correct. So as more companies like Strategy and Semler and others and Mara that are buying it, it does take it off the exchanges here and even off of the OTC desk. And that's going to propel us further, but it's going to be we're coming to that point where that compression and that the low amount of BTC is going to eventually have to come from someplace. And it's going to come probably from the exchanges, which would then pump the Bitcoin price up, and then you're going to have sellers bringing it down again, so it's going to have this kind of cycle. Kind of like what we've seen here recently in the last 3 to 4 months, right? We've seen Bitcoin come down 30%. We saw that also last year. Bitcoin price came down 34, 35%, whatever it was, from 73,000 down to 40-some thousand, and then we went back up to 109,000. So that might be the continuation that we see here going forward. A pump, a sell-off, and another pump. And continuing on here, and that changes the game for everyone. From sovereigns to retail, access is tightening, but this isn't a top-down takeover. Bitcoin is still being adopted bottom-up, especially where it's needed most. Capital is just accelerating the timeline. I agree with that also. So yes, supply is drying up, but price moves when demand breaks equilibrium, and we're getting close to that, I think. I mean, based on what I'm seeing here, it's got to be close. And with infinite fiat chasing a truly scarce asset, Bitcoin's next move won't be linear. It will be violent and likely irreversible. Well, irreversible to what degree, right? Can it go down 30%? Yeah, it's going to be reversible, but that's fine. That would be part of what we've seen here historically with Bitcoin. When it's going up in a upward trajectory or parabolic rises, it typically has 35% correction. So it's not unlikely to see that here. I don't think it's just going to go straight up without any corrections. We're going to see corrections because at certain price points, somebody's going to be selling at that point that is in huge profits. For one reason or another, it could be life-changing for them. And that's the reason why they're going to do it. Continuing on, I want to understand where this is headed. Join us this September for BTC. Okay, this is just a plug there. Join Michael Saylor, Adam Back, and many more in critical discussions about the future of it. So, yeah. I mean, I agree with a lot of good speakers. Jack Mallers as well, Michael Saylor, Jeff Booth. So, I mean, let me know what you guys think of this, but I agree with this. The more that we get BTC off the exchange and everything else, and we can see that on the charts here, that Bitcoin is definitely much, much lower than it has been in the past. That should bode well for the price of Bitcoin going up much higher here in the future. But we'll find out in due course, I guess. All right. So I think that kind of explains it more or less for everybody to understand what's happening here. We don't talk about it too often here, and I thought this was a good time to talk about it, especially since we don't have a lot of news from the miners. We do have one news story, though, which is now on BitDigital here. So let's take a look at BitDigital here. They came out with a Schedule 13G here. This is, somebody buying, actually. This is actually pretty good news here. BlackRock is buying quite a bit of shares, actually, of BitDigital. They now have 7.5 million shares, sold deposits, or 7.8, I guess, voting power. and the percentage of shares owned there is 4.2% of the company. They have been increasing that along the way. They've been also buying up other companies, Cleanspark, more others as well. They've been buying a lot of these guys here, so they're probably, looking forward more so to where Bitcoin price is going to be up higher and the stocks are going to be much higher than where they are right now. They're buying the dip basically, which we'll take a look at it later on this week when the miners start reporting. We'll take a look to see how the institutions are also buying the miners at that point from the last month. So we'll see that data coming in, if they're selling or if they're buying into them as well. All right, so that's good there that BlackRock is getting into Bit Digital. This here is a little bit more concerning here. This is a Form S3 from them. This is basically an ATM form. And what they're offering is here 500 million a base prospectus, which covers the offering, issuance, and sale by us up to 500 million of ordinary shares, preference shares, debt, securities, warrants, units, and subscription rights, or any combination thereof. So it's an ATM, maybe issued and sold under the ATM offering agreement that has been entered with H.C. Wainwright and Company here. So $500 million, that's a lot, right? Where does their current market cap is at? Their market cap is less than that actually right now. Their market cap here, where is it at? Revenue market cap, here it is. $354 million market cap. So that's 1.2, somewhere around there, 1.2 of their market cap as it is right now, that whole offering. So that's going to be a lot of dilution in there. If they have 178 million shares, you're looking at possibly doubling the number of shares if they pull it quickly. I don't think they're going to pull on it quickly. I think they're going to pull on that over a number of maybe 2 years or something like that. I don't think they're going to pull on it that quick. Maybe they do. I mean, the stock is at $1.94, but if they pull on too fast, the stock is going to go down because of the dilution happening there. So we'll see how they do it. They did provide what they're going to be using it for. And we can see that down here. If I go to it, here we go. Unless otherwise indicated in a prospectus supplement, we intend to use the net proceeds from the sale of securities under the prospectus for general corporate purposes, which may include capital expenditures, funding potential acquisitions or additional new mining equipment, cloud services equipment, other potential acquisitions, and general working capital. So that's basically what they're going to be doing it, using it for. They've been doing really well here, growing their smaller sized data centers for HPC AI. They're also improving on their Bitcoin mining side of things, getting newer machines. So they're doing all the right things here. Stock's not being valued on that, but they're doing the right things, I think, and they're doing it the right way. This ATM, we'll see how this impacts the stock going forward here. As long as they wait maybe a little bit longer for things to rebound for Bitcoin, but again, they never really got the love from the investors side of things. So it's nice to see that the institutions are still buying into them. But from investors, maybe retail or not, they didn't get the love. We saw it last year. They had pretty good operations, not much growth in Bitcoin mining, but their operations for HPC business was getting pretty good, right? They were making close to $100 million in revenue on it. And I'm a little surprised that they didn't do much better. They've kind of lagged here, the miners, in the pretty much last year and the year before as well. So we'll see. We'll see if they continue to buy sites up that are small, 4 or 5 megawatts, maybe 10 megawatts, something like that, build them out and get customers in there that way, which they have been doing that. And in the past, we kind of beat them up a little bit because they didn't have any assets really. They had all of their Bitcoin mining was being hosted by somebody else. It still is though. And then when they got the deal for HPC AI, that was also hosted by somebody else. So they didn't have any physical assets like data centers. And they changed that around last year. They started buying up these smaller data center sites. And they're still not being, appreciated for that or valued for it. So it is what it is. We'll see if they can turn those things around and do much better going forward. So that is it. And then the last thing that I saw here just recently while I was getting ready for the show was this one here. This is from BCA Sooners, Microsoft earnings call. Satya said Azure growth remains constrained by power after June. Wall Street will soon ask, where's the power coming from? Yeah, the United States has to build out more power plants, or like Microsoft is, partnering with 3 Mile Island to have nuclear power there. We might see that happening as well, where these hyperscalers, maybe even miners themselves, get into like small modular reactors, or either bigger sites, natural gas, whatever it might be, power plants. But that's going to be happening here. We need more power in the United States. China's kind of kicking our butts at that right now. And going forward, they have a lot more projected power growth than we do, and we need more power. We got to stop this kind of mentality that we have enough power that we can go all green and go all natural. We still need nuclear, and we still need natural gas and things like that to help us grow on it. And hopefully that will change here in the next couple of years, and we see that happening here more and more. Nonetheless, it'll be interesting to see how they do going forward. We have heard stories from Microsoft that they have canceled some deals for data centers. They're moving things around, shuffling the deck a little bit here. One thing I want to look at some more is the sites that they do have. They don't provide a lot of data on the sites they have and how many megawatts they have. So I'd be interested to find out if they typically like smaller sites, maybe 5 megawatts to 50 megawatts or 100 megawatt sites compared to these larger, multi-hundred megawatt sites. Or what are they looking for right now? Not a lot of data on it, not a lot of info on it. Unfortunately, I wish they would provide that, but they don't. So we'll have to do some research on it, maybe see if we can find that out somehow or some way. But yeah, that is all I got for you guys. Tomorrow we'll have, obviously, Riot reporting their quarterly results. We'll take a look at that. Bitfarms will probably report their monthly update for April. We'll see where they came in at and what their hash rate is right now. How many Bitcoins they mined, all that stuff. We'll talk about it tomorrow and anything else that pops up. But that's all. Let's get into you guys' Q&A side of things, and we'll call it a day. So let's get to Q&A. As always, with questions and answer sessions, if you preface your questions with a question mark or Q, I'd appreciate it. I'm going to work my way up as always, and then I'll work my way down, and we'll go from there. Let's see. Not a lot of comments here, so it's going to be pretty short, I think. See, Neil says, hold on to the miners for 18 years. Maybe they will mature. They got to mature much faster than that. John Curtis here has a question. If the trade war with China, Europe, Canada, and other doesn't end soon, the long-term damage is going to hurt everyone big time, and the overall markets will correct long-term. What do you think? Yeah, I would agree with you there. If they don't get deals, I would say within 90 days or something like that, I would give them maybe a little bit more, 90, maybe 120 days. By then, you should have some deals in place, right? You're either going to have to not get all the things that you want, but you got to get some deals in place. There's got to be certainty in the markets. You can't be changing things around like crazy. It's not good for the markets, not good for businesses themselves. They can't plan on unknowns. And right now, there's a lot of unknowns, unfortunately. Okay. Love Guru says, after the Black Swan events, we now have the Orange Swan. Sadie, thank you so much for the likes. They absolutely do help. Sarmelin says, BTC will pump, miners will dump. I hope that that's not the case. Miners are junk. They will probably barely keep up with Bitcoin. I'm hoping we see the other side of that, but we'll see. All right. B-side asks, what is the best show you would like to see in real life? The best show? Gosh, the shows that I like are like, I don't know if you guys remember The Prophet on CNBC a couple years back. That was a good one. I like Shark Tank. There was another one that was about investing. I can't remember the name of it right now. But I like shows like that. I also like shows for like home improvement shows. Those are the ones that I like. Or you're talking about like bands. For me, it's AC/DC, Rock and Roll, Trained by AC/DC. Okay, best show. So you're talking about music shows. For me, oh gosh, I want to see Metallica. Maybe I think they're coming close to us this year or next year. I'd like to take my wife to that as well. Metallica, Foo Fighters, I'd like to see those as well. Maybe Guns N' Roses if they're back in town. Those, AC/DC, I'm a fan of AC/DC, but not as big of a fan as I am with the other ones. So I'd like to see those. Okay, Enrique Monkey asks, did you see Mauro's annual shareholder report? I did not. Did they come out today? I'll have to take a look into it. I looked through all the miners' press releases on their websites. I didn't see anything for them. I'm guessing maybe went out through the SEC, maybe. I haven't checked there. LB has a question here. Hi, Sebastian. What do you think of Applied Digital as a company? Is this a good entry? I'm looking to start a small position, but don't know very much about it, although it's been researching a bit. Yeah, I mean, Applied Digital is building out a, 300 megawatt data center that they're still working on, and they're transitioning their business over from Bitcoin hosting to HPC AI. I think right now the price is pretty low. Applied Digital, let me take a look at it here, it got kind of clobbered a little bit with their earnings report because their revenues came down. But I think that's because they're getting rid of some business there. some old business, but let me see where it's applied. Not here. It is going to be under here. Applied. There's 454 right now. So it has bounced back from the bottom. If we look at this chart here, right? Earnings came out here. This was on, when was this on? This was on the 14th of April. Earnings came in, right, and they had a surprise. Revenue was down. From the estimates, at least, it was down about 12 million. 11.9 million surprise on that. The good thing, earnings were actually up a little bit from where they said, so that was surprised, but the revenue, I think, was kind of what freaked them out, at least investors at that point. You saw a big drop here. It dropped quite a bit. So let's see, it was right around here at that point. It went down, it went down, what was it, 36% on a day. Markets didn't like it, but it's been coming back up here. I would just start nibbling on it. I think they're supposed to be done building that out either later on this year or next year. And they're going to be, obviously, working to get customers in there as well for it. So we will see. But yeah, I think this might be a good one to get into a little bit at least. Nibble on it when it comes down on price and things like that. Okay, let's go back. Where do I want to go? Back here. Let's see. Next one. Okay, here we go. Neil asks, is MicroStrategy a bubble? No. Sometimes it does get a little overexcited compared to Bitcoin, where Bitcoin's going, and then it pulls back down. We saw that when it got to over $500 here, and then it came back down, right? That got overexcited. Came back down to a more reasonable price, and it's coming back up right now as they've been buying a lot more. B-Side asks, are you in your bunker when recording this video? I am. I'm in my dungeon, and you could say my basement right now. And I need to do something with the basement and the studio here just to get better sound isolation. Right now it's all open. I mean, the floor joists above don't have any insulation or anything like that, so all the sound comes down here. It's not the best, but it works. Have you looked at DGHI? I have not. Neil says, I hear Trump is now considering being the Pope, so hopefully he will be out of the White House soon. No, he'll do both jobs if that's the case. Nobody's better than him. He's the best. Let's see. Par says everybody's sold. Now Bitcoin goes to 200,000. That's kind of what happens, right? Bitcoin does that, and you get people that capitulate. They got in late, got in higher prices. Things go down, and they exit out and are regretful later. SNH says Bitfarms today activity was weird, especially the last 15 minutes. It went down. It went from negative 4% to positive 2 within a few minutes, and the volume from 9 million last. I didn't pay that close attention to it. Yeah, but it was definitely down much more than it came back up, which was still good. I mean, it went down below $1 again, but I think we can go back up there later on this week. Let's see. B-Side, on a scale of 1 out of 10, how do you think you are? How do you think you are a great dad? I will give you 8 out of 10. Oh, I appreciate that. I mean, if you ask my boys would probably say a 10 out of 10. I would hope so, at least. I try to be a good dad. I try to listen to them. I try to listen to their concerns, see how they're doing. Try to get them everything they want, but not everything. I can't give them everything. There's some things that are just out of my reach. Try to spend as much time as I can with them as well. And, even when they screw up on things, I don't yell at them. I have a conversation with them. What did you do wrong? What did you do right? How could you have done things differently? And hopefully they learn from those mistakes. I don't think yelling does anything. I think it just anything makes them resentful, maybe not want to talk to you if you yell at them. So, but that's just the approach that I have. Kind of like in life in general. It's just that's my approach. Let's see here. Andre has a question. Real question is Bitcoin has gone from 74,000 and miners dropped over 60% to 52-week lows. Why aren't miners recovering? Miners are the worst investment in the Bitcoin space. The miners have recovered a little bit from where they were. Not as much as I would have liked, but they have recovered. I mean, they had a pretty good week last week. They were up, somewhere up 13, somewhere up 20%, somewhere up 30% last week. And we might see more of that happening here. It's just right now, Bitcoin's going sideways, so the miners are going down. We see that all the time. More Tim here. Cleanspark is half of what it was when Bitcoin was 68,000. Time to call it. Holders are just waiting for exit pumps to get out. I'm sure there's a lot of people doing that. Yeah. I don't think the cycle is over yet. That's why I'm holding, and I was actually buying more, and I'll probably buy more as well. Cleanspark or IREN, boy, two sides of the same coin, I guess you could say a little bit. Great operators. I mean, they're both really, really good operators. They've been growing tremendously here in the last, Cleanspark for the last 3-4 years or so when they came out back in 2021. So it's now going to be 4 years for them. IREN, same thing, really good growth. They had some hiccups along the way, but they're definitely changed things around and gotten much better at it. IREN has really good costs to mine. Cleanspark is a little bit higher than that, but Cleanspark has a much bigger, well, Cleanspark has a HODL position of over, what's it now, 12,000 Bitcoin. IREN doesn't have any HODL. IREN has HPCI potential there. Right? Can they get something worked out with the hyperscaler there for the Sweetwater site? Maybe, maybe not. We don't know. But if anything, they got 2 gigawatts of power to put into Bitcoin mining, if anything. So there's pluses and minuses to both of these guys here. I love them both, and I have them both. So I will continue to buy more as I can. All right, talked about that one already. Okay. Neil says, I regret not holding on to oil stocks I bought during the pandemic. I will hold on to the miners if it looks like an extended cycle. Well, take profits along the way, right? If you get up nicely with some of these guys, take some profits off the table. No shame in that. If it's an extended cycle, it's going to be an extended cycle but it's not going to be one without some pain also, right? It's not going to go up forever. We're going to go up. We're going to come back down 30% like we've been seeing here at least the last 2 years. So take profits along the way. SH here, do you think Bitfarms will get to 21 exahash tomorrow? No. That would be a huge surprise, though. I mean, they're at right now, what are they at? As of April, they were, let me see here, Bitfarms. Bitfarms was at 18.7. So unless they got, what would that be? 2.3 exahash installed? Which they could, because they did pretty good here. They got 2.6 installed in March, exahash. So it's possible for them to do it, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, they've been talking about getting to that later on this year. So we'll see. It'd be a nice surprise, though, if they did. But if they got there, they should have probably put out a press release and saying, hey, we got to 21 exahash already. Okay, let's see. All right, poll. Are you in the green on miners? Yes or no? I am green on Cleanspark. I'm still in the red on IREN, Bitfarms, and I think Mara is like break even right now for me. So, but Cleanspark is the biggest one that I have, one of the biggest ones, along with IREN. And that one is outperforming the other ones, and I'm still in the green overall combined. All right. Okay. What happened to TeraWolf? TeraWolf has stopped providing monthly updates, and that's why I stopped covering them. I don't know why they stopped doing those. I mean, it doesn't take much for you to do that. There might be some costs associated with it, but it's going to be minimal costs. I don't know why they stopped doing it. I think they're just trying to transition more into being a data center provider and going into HPCI more. I don't know. B-Side says, when are you gonna do live stream sharing your house, kids, and whole stuff? I think you are quite likable. Oh, thanks. I don't think I'll ever do that for a couple of reasons. I want to keep my kids private for the most part. I do talk about them from time to time, but I want to keep them private. I think it's not about sheltering them. I just don't think that's necessary thing to do. That's just at least my take on it. You know, I'm okay with it being out there. I can handle myself, but kids and wife want to remain private, which is fine. And I kind of prefer that as well. Neil says Bitfarms are at 19.5 exahash under management. Is it 19? Okay, yeah, 19.5 exahash under management, which has some hosting that they have with Stronghold there, I think. All right. Gibby Dubs asks, do you think Mara can 5 to 8x from here? That's a tough one. I would have thought that was the case. Well, let me put it this way. I think from the bottom, from where they bottomed out in 2022, I think they can definitely 5 to 8x from there. From here, where they are right now, they are at, what is it, $13, $14 right now still. Let me look at the chart here really quick. Mara is at $13.37. So a 5x would be roughly $80, right? Yeah, I don't know. I would have a hard time thinking that that could be the case. Could they go 3x, 4x? Yeah, I could see that happening. But also depends where Bitcoin goes. And do they get love from the investors? If they don't get the love, well, we might top out at $34, $35 like we did. Just let me go back here to the chart. Didn't want that one, sorry. Going back here, right where they topped out, go to Mara. They topped out over here at $34. This was going back to February of last year, actually, in 2024. Right when Bitcoin was pumping and we got to Bitcoin getting to new all-time high before the halving event. They pumped pretty nicely here. Other stocks did the same thing. So I'd like to see them at least get back to this, with Bitcoin being closer to 150, 200,000, whatever it might be. And then beyond that, it's anybody's guess on that. So we shall see. All right. Okay, Big Side asks, how does it surprise you to see Bitcoin above 90,000? Doesn't really surprise me. I was, for the longest time, as you guys know, if you guys watch the streams, I've been saying that this is just a correction in Bitcoin. We haven't gone below or we haven't decreased in price 40% from the top. So I was saying that was kind of my call to say we're going to be in a bear market. If we don't go below 40% drop, I think we're going to be okay, and we've stayed above that. So I'm not too surprised that we're above 90,000. I thought maybe with the tariffs and everything else, things were going to be, well, Bitcoin and MIGI were going to be down more, actually. And we got a surprise with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is actually doing the counter. It's actually going up here. Right now, we're kind of trading sideways a little bit over the last couple of days. I don't know if it's just accumulation phase, correction. Well, it's not really correction. I think it's just an accumulation phase right now. And then we'll see where May takes us. May supposedly supposed to be a really good month based on the M2 chart offset, right? A number of days there, 12 weeks, whatever it might be. And if that turns out to be true, I mean, we could be in for a nice ride here, going up to new all-time highs. I don't know, but we'll find out in a couple of weeks, I guess. And then let's see. We got one more coming in here, and I think we'll call it a day. Let's see here. Neil says, short Riot. You can short them, I think. But I think a lot of this stuff is already priced into the miners being down in EPS because of the FSB rules. So I don't know. Yeah, if Bitcoin starts running like crazy here in May, that might not be a good plan to do. That's why I don't short. I just try to buy in at the lows as much as I can and ride them through a little bit till they reach much higher prices. And we'll see if that works out even. All right, we'll call it a day, guys. Thank you so much for coming in, as always. Love you all. We will see tomorrow Riot's numbers. We will see also what Bitfarms came in at on their operations for April. At least they should report. They always report first, the first day, which is great. I mean, you have all the data. Put out a template. Put the numbers into it, you're good to go. Shouldn't be that hard. But then again, it's kind of nice that everybody kind of spaces it out a couple of days out. That way it gives me something to talk about. So we'll cover all that. We'll see whatever happens with Bitcoin and the miners tomorrow as well. We'll talk about it. And I'm rambling on here. I bid you guys a great night. Thank you so much for coming in, and as always, I will see you guys tomorrow. See you guys. Bye.